Hello everyone. Welcome to lecture 7.1, Post-Tonal Music. The first genre of post-tonal music we are going to introduce is serialism, also known as 12-tone technique. The 12-tone technique is a means of ensuring that all 12 notes of the chromatic scale are sounded equally often in a piece of music, while preventing the emphasis of any one note through the use of tone rolls, orderings of the 12 pitch classes. All 12 notes are thus given more or less equal importance, and the music avoids being in a key. So we can comparing to the tonal music, which is on a diatonic scale, usually of 7 notes. If we talk about Western tonal music, which emphasizes a hierarchy that privileges notes to different degrees and assign different structural importances to the notes in the scale. In this 12-tone serialism, it breaks down the tonality and it divides a scale with equal distance, with equal space into 12 half steps. And in compositions, it uses the 12 notes of equal importance, which so where the music is not in any key and there is no tonal center. So 12-tone serialism is a 20th century method of musical composition invented by Arnold Schoenberg, in which the 12 notes of the chromatic scale are organized into a series or a tone roll. This roll can be transposed, inverted, or played in retrograde. Serial music is highly dissonant. So in this serialism, it sequences the 12 notes with equal importance, which means there's no consideration of any relationship, like defined relationship, like the tonal center, and also there's no consideration or requirement of the consonant intervals in composition. So therefore, this 12-tone serial music is usually highly dissonant. And also this tone roll, the sequenced tone roll can be played, can be transposed, inverted, or played in retrograde, which are certain types of mathematical manipulation applied on the 12-tone serial music. So here is the example. So this is a tone roll defined as a serial of 12 notes. Each note is a different note of a chromatic scale. So here, the 12 notes appear equally often, which is only used once in this tone roll. And retrograde means to play the music backwards, where we play this tone roll from the end backwards to the beginning. So this is the retrograde. We simply reverse this tone roll. And there's also manipulation called inversion, which means we play the music upside down. So upside down means that we basically mirror this tone roll based on the first note. So we flip this tone roll upside down based on its relative position to the first note. So here we can see based on the intervals with the first notes, we simply flip or mirror the tone roll to inverse it upside down. And transposition is much easier. We just place this tone roll at transpose this up or down in parallel. Okay, here is a YouTube video. Introduce this tone roll and different manipulations with musical examples. Please check it out for more details. The next music genre we'd like to introduce is Sprechgang. This is a German word, which means speech and song. So this is another technique adopted by Schoenberg and Berg. And this is a technique used in vocal music, where the singer is required to use the voice in an expressive manner halfway between singing and speaking. So the singer basically you use their voice halfway between singing and speaking, like illustrated in this composition. And also here is a YouTube video demonstrating how Berg use Sprechgesang in an opera. The next technique we'd like to introduce is polytonality. So which means the use of two or more keys played or sung at the same time. For example, the melody may be in the key of C major, whilst the accompaniment might be in E major, like this musical piece given here. So the two or more different keys appear simultaneously in one music composition, in one music progression. Here are two examples that uses polytonality. So please check them out, which are linked below. So here's a quote about the post-tonal music. Since the breakdown of tonality from Wagner to Schoenberg and the emergence of ethnomusicology, musicologists have been reluctant to define music, since definitions always depend on historical, cultural, and academic context. But these historical developments merely showed that music need not to be tonal, and that the distinguishing features of Western music should be absent from a general definition. They also drew attention to the different meanings of music and its translations in different cultures and periods. Today's theories of the origins of music differ in part because researchers still have different implicit definitions of music. So this quote basically brings us back to our former discussions of the definitions of music, the origins of music, and the cultural convention of musical forms and the acquirement of musical meanings through the social cultural lens. So after the breakdown of tonality, people start to realize that tonal music is not the one and only musical form, and the musicologists starts to investigate the world music, and it also makes music more difficult to be studied or defined because there's no encompassing theory or system that is ubiquitously applicable to all kinds of music. For the rest part of this lecture, we'd like to talk about a very important music genre or compositional technique to compose electronic music, which is music concrete. So it's a French word, and this technique is developed in France. Here is a music example that utilizing music concrete. Here is a documentary of Pierre Henry talking about his compositional ideas, compositional processes using music concrete. So what is music concrete? It is a type of music composition that utilizes recorded sounds as raw material. Sounds are often modified through the application of audio signal processing and tape music techniques, such as cutting, playing backwards, slowing down, and speeding up, and may be assembled into a form of sound collage. It can feature sounds derived from recordings of musical instruments, the human voice, and the natural environment, as well as those created using sound synthesis and computer-based digital signal processing. Compositions in this idiom are not restricted to the normal musical rules of melody, harmony, rhythm, and meter. So here is a YouTube video talking about this process of manipulation of manipulation of the tape and sound objects and the music concrete. So here we can see that the main compositional tool or the main musical material changed from the play of from playing the physical instruments, the real instruments like piano, violin, guitar, flute, etc., to the manipulation of recorded music, like the a physical tape, and by applying different techniques to the tape, people create music, create the sound clash as the new musical form. Because the compositional materials changed and this new type of raw material doesn't feature the pitch harmony like the classical Western music. Therefore, the normal musical rules before, such as melody, harmony, rhythm, and meter, don't apply in this circumstance anymore. And the musicians were driven to define and to explore new dimensions, new musical dimensions, to compose the contemporary music using electronic techniques and tools. One defining figure in music concrete is Pierre Schaeffer. In this YouTube video, he explained his compositional ideas using music concrete. It's called the solfege. The theoretical basis of music concrete as a compositional practice was developed by French composer Pierre Schaeffer beginning in the early 1940s. It was largely an attempt to differentiate between music based on the abstract medium of notation and that created using so-called sound objects. So music concrete means concrete music, which means we are creating music using concrete objects, which is called sound objects by Pierre Schaeffer, which contrasts the previous used musical affordance, which is the abstract note in the Western classical or tonal music, because the physical instruments like piano, like violin, whatever, they feature discrete pitches, and they form a scale. Therefore, we have the foundation to abstract these sounds into notes and write them down and manipulate the abstract notes to create music form. But here, since we are using concrete sound objects, then which usually don't have a range of pitches and which cannot be really played based on the scale. Therefore, the previous rules basically fail in this new form of music, and in this realm, when we are using sound objects, the rich timbre became the new form-bearing elements in compositions. Music is based on so here are a few points that illustrates Pierre Schaeffer's compositional practices. So he proposed that music is based on acoustics and mathematics, and it is a psychological and sociological phenomenon. Some of the psychological phenomena of perception which constitutes the sound object. So the sound object is not only an acoustic object, it also includes or is filled with psychological phenomena. So it became an affordance, an aesthetic affordance that's perceived by human, and this perception and the psychology that's injected into these sound objects makes them makes them musical materials. And it's important to understand sound morphology and musical typology in composing the musical concrete. And he also talks about the value of objects within a musical composition, how to use these sound objects, and why we are using the sound objects in a composition. Basically, what the music concrete brings to the musical scene and how it reform this field. Here is a table that categorizes and describes different dimensions, the features of sound objects in Schaeffer's solfege. We can see here are three types of criteria. In the meta criteria, there is a mass, like perception of noisiness. Harmonic timbre talks about bright or dull, and green microstructure of the sound. In shape criteria, which describes the sound shapes, there's dynamic, about intensity evolution, and allure, if there is any amplitude or frequency modulation, yeah, so it belongs here. if we use this audio signal processing techniques in compositions. Also, variation criteria, melodic profile, like pitch variation type, and mass profile, mass variation type. So it's difficult to give clear definitions of all those concepts here. But from this table, you can roughly have a sense about about Schaffer's definition and his perception of the sound objects, and the categorization, categorization and description of different sound objects here. The next figure we'd like to introduce in music concrete is Karl-Heinz Stockhausen. So his well-known composition, Contacting, is a seminal work that has significant influence and inspired a lot of later works in this field. In terms of composing and perceiving electronic music works. Here we provide a recording of Contacti and also the music score. And this is an interview with Stockhausen in 1960, right before the premiere of Contacti. So Stockhausen describes Contacti as follows. It's a series of forms of contact, brings together electronic music and instrumental music. And this is where the title comes from. Contacti in French, which means contact in English. The electronic sound categories establish relationships and transitions between the instrumental timbres, fusing with them and departing from them towards hitherto unknown regions of sound. So it basically means that the electronic sound works as a bridge that transforms the instrumental timbre from one to the other, and which fuses the two types of sound together, and also creates a form and an acoustic phenomenon, a hearing experience towards hitherto unknown regions of sound. When explaining his compositional ideas and also his understanding, his perception of contacting, Stockhausen proposed 4 criteria of electronic music, which are composition in the musical time continuum, the decomposition of sound, composition of several layers in space, and the equality of musical sound and noise. So all those points illustrated Stockhausen's understanding and his aesthetic and aesthetic perception and practice in composing electronic musics. So here we provide 2 examples to illustrate how the contexts are created in the composition, in contacting. The first example, at the beginning of contacting, the pianist slowly wraps around the edge of a large tam-tam in the center of the stage with a thin metal rod to produce a metallic resonance. Simultaneously, an electronic metal resonance is heard from the front left loudspeaker. The contact between the electronic and instrumental worlds is established due to similarity of spectra, but as the tam-tam fades into silence, the divergent spatial locations reveal the artificiality of the electronic resonance. So here, the contact between the electronic sound and instrumental sound was produced by the resonance between them. So this electronic metal resonance is actually in the similar timbre as the instrumental sound of the tom-tom. But to distinguish them, in the electronic resonance is came from a front left loudspeaker, and these different spatial locations incorporates spatial audio features, and it also falls within the Stockhausen's criteria, which is composition at different layers, at several layers in space. So this actually interrupt a strong correspondence. So there is a correspondence, a resonance between the two kind of sounds, and Stockhausen also find a way to distinguish them. So when the tom-tom fades into silence, the audience suddenly realize there is another another sound that's produced by the electronics, and the artificiality is revealed by the different location, different position of sound sources. The second example is given at the 39.3 second. There is a 7-second subsection in which resonated electronic impulses mixed with antique symbols and notes played in the high register of the piano. Stockhausen ensures this group occupies a narrow register. Thus, their pitch, content, and spectral behavior make a contact inevitably. So this means that the electronic impulse and the symbol and also the notes played by the piano, they are placed within a narrow range of this register, and because their pitches are so close to each other within this narrow register, it's inevitable for them to meet and contact and fuse with each other within this narrow frequency range. To this time, it is supported by the spatial location, as the electronic impulses emerge from a loudspeaker location immediately behind both the pianist and the percussionist. So here, again, after the physical instruments, the electronic sound followed immediately to form this contact, this fusion, but also from a different position, different location of the loudspeaker that adds this spatial contrast. So these materials are drawn from the reading here, written by John Deck in 1999. It's called Carl Heinz Stockhausen's Contacty and Narrativity. So in this paper, besides what I covered in this lecture, it talks more about the musical structure of contacty, to argue whether it's narrativity or serialism or in moment form. As we already introduced narrativity in lecture 5, to certain details, it might be inspiring for you to read this paper and to form the arguments, to connect these arguments to the concept we learned before. So this might be a source of consideration for your final paper. So for post-tonal music, there's also like many other genres. We don't have time to cover them all in details in this course, but here I just list these music genres, and it's left for you to investigate, to to dive into these topics. So the first type is noise music. The noise is used more or less as some musical affordance actually in contemporary music, especially in music concrete, when people are using the digital signal processing or the tape music, recording music. The noise are always more or less presented in the compositions. But here, for in this category, in this genre of noise music, the noise is used as the main affordance or the main main compositional material for this musical piece. So to use music as the main form-bearing elements in a composition, it requires kind of other compositional techniques and aesthetic perceptions. So in this paper talks about noise threshold, Merzbow, and the end of natural sound. So Merzbow is a representative composer in the field of noise music. And here is also a YouTube video on the brutal world of noise music, talking about the compositions by Merzbow. And this is a kind of argumentative paper written by the pioneering composer Luigi Russolo from Italy. It's a pretty outdated, actually, paper, like at the dawn of noise music. And it talks about the artistic usage of noises as a futurist manifesto. Another genre is remix. So when we talk about music concrete, we see there are the music concrete is composed by applying the various manipulations to the tape, such as cutting, slowing down, speeding up, a playback, etc. So remix is similar to that, but using different type of manipulations. So remix is to simply speaking is a cut, copy, paste of existing musical materials and to create new music. So this cut, copy, and paste is also considered kind of sampling from the existing musical materials, and this is widely used in the modern music compositional techniques, especially in hip hop. So both music concrete and remix is a utilization of modern technology to into the compositions and to create new music. Here are also experimental music and ambient music illustrated in these papers. So please read these papers if you want to know more about these genres. Finally, I'd like to introduce the algorithmic composition. So this is about the automated music generation using computers. So if you are a computer person, this might be, this book might be inspiring for you and give you a good introduction to this field. So nowadays, as the advent of AI, most the music generation models now use neural networks such as RNN and Transformer and VAE, etc. But before the emergence of AI, there was a long time and extensive exploration of using computer algorithms to generate music. So this book introduces various algorithmic approaches to generate musical materials, either from some predefined music theory or mathematics, geometry, based on various type of music ideas and about how to design the algorithm, how to program them, and the features of music generated. So I think if you are into computer programming, especially algorithmic design, I would encourage you to read this book. So this is all about this lecture, and hope you enjoyed it. And also, in this course, we haven't listened to a lot of music in previous lectures, and also maybe in future lectures. But this lecture is more or less dedicated to music listening, to a study, an investigation of the compositional techniques of different composers, musicians.